Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
I'm here with my auntie Rachel.
Yay!
And we
There we go.
are going to have a nice little conversation about racism. I'm Rhonda. I am the director and founder of Race and Faith. And I've taken on a project of having intergenerational conversations about racism. And so Rachel has agreed to
Absolutely.
sharing this conversation with me. You want to tell people about you a little bit, Rachel?
Sure. My name is Rachel Frazier Johnson. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I was originally born in San Francisco, and I'm an attorney.
Oh, that's interesting. Did you see The Last Man in San Francisco?
That was so good. The movie?
Yeah.
Was it Last Black Man?
Yeah.
In San Francisco. Yeah, it was really good.
That was very interesting to me. Oh, okay, that could be a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, it is. It really is. There's so many layers to that movie. Yeah.
I mean, which is definitely, I feel like it's definitely steeped in it, the racism,
It is.
racial culture, all of this gentrification,
It sure
just
did.
all of the issues that we face. But I'm curious as to, for you in your life, when did you first experience racism or even learn about racism?
You know, that's a really good question because I can't tell you there was a moment in time. I'm sure there was as a child. I have very vivid memories of my grandparents educating me based on their life experiences. My maternal grandfather, he was from Mansfield, Louisiana. My grandmother from Dallas, Texas. My mom was from San Francisco, but she really educated me quite a bit. And the way that she educated me is one thing that would commonly come up. She would just make it very clear to me about how I needed to navigate this world. She also made it clear to me that not only as a black child or a black woman, that there would also be some disparities in how I would be treated because of my complexion versus her. My mother is a very, very dark-skinned black woman.
Oh, okay. Darker than me?
Very dark.
Oh,
no, way darker than me.
Interesting.
Oh, very dark.
Yeah.
And so I would often get comments from people like, what does your father do? Or who is your father? Like, there was always a lot of curiosity about my father, who happens to be a black man, though.
Right.
And it was in the context that my mom and I always felt like, are they probing to see if there's something else going on? Like, meaning, is there some non-black involved, particularly white? And that was very offensive to me. But one thing my mom would say to me, she goes, understand that the world will treat you differently than they treat me. And I never understood that because I thought, well, I'm your daughter. Why would they treat me different?
Right.
And then as I was in junior high school and then I was in high school, things would come up and I was very angry about that because that was my mom. Regardless of the complexion of her skin, that was still my mom. And so those lessons carried with me as I got older and had children. And then my firstborn daughter came out the same complexion as my mom.
Yeah.
And so that ended up being very important on me and how to raise her and how to talk to her and how to teach her what true beauty is, and how beauty is found through the entire spectrum of the African American race, and how she is truly kissed by the sun. And I really felt that was important because for some reason, our dark-skinned sisters, and I mean, some people always say I'm dark-skinned, right? Because it all depends on where you fall on the spectrum.
Right.
Right. And so, you know, I just have a huge problem with colorism.
Yeah.
Huge problem. I'm like, it's one thing when you're battling racism externally, but it's something to battle colorism internally.
Right.
And somebody is saying, oh, well, you're this color, you're that color, you have good hair, you don't have good hair. And I just don't like it, and it infuriates me.
Good hair.
Right. Because it's not necessarily good hair, right? It's just there's hair, and there's all different kinds of hair.
Right.
And for some reason, when we use the phraseology good hair, we're saying it's closest to European white hair. And I don't have a problem with that. So when you say, when was that first experience, I can't not sit here right now and identify that. But what I can tell you is that it was very present. And we were, I mean, there's like so much through my life experiences, which I'm sure will come up. So.
Right. Yeah, that was colorism is huge, and the thing I don't like about it is because it still keep whiteness at the center.
That's right. That's
It is everything starts at whiteness, and then it builds out from
It
there.
sure does.
My first really I guess look at the ways in which whiteness has just co-opted the globe is my first trip to Thailand. And when I first got off the plane in Thailand, it was all advertisements for skin bleaching.
Oh yeah.
And then the billboards, they either had white people on billboards in Thailand.
Oh yeah.
Or light Thai people.
Like they sure do.
And I just said, whoa.
Yeah, right. And I've never been to Thailand, but I've been in Tokyo. And Tokyo was like that.
Yeah.
And we've been to other places. I mean, you could go to other countries. You go to African countries. Go to South Africa. You
that
can go
skin bleaching
to
is
Africa.
huge.
Right. It's the same. It's the same thing.
Oh, it's such a sickness. Yeah.
It is a sickness.
It's such a sickness that we feel like we have to form to that. But for what you said, which I love, is like your mom, your parents, they were really intentionally having these conversations, which I said too. My parents, I felt like my parents, I would hear them say things, especially my dad would say certain things like white people got their foot on our necks and that kind of thing. Okay. I didn't know what that really meant. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I just knew it was something good. You know? Yeah. But as I got older and had my own experiences, then I knew, I was like, oh,
this is what they talk about.
This is what they mean.
Yeah.
And so now with my son, and I wonder as a mother, how have you mentioned with your daughter being darker than you, try to talk to her about colorism. How do you, with the two girls, right? How do you really work with them to have that sense of, one, we're women, right? And we got that, but just that real sense of Black pride. What do you do or say to them as a mom to help them love who they are unapologetic?
That's exactly what it is. And those are two really important things that are part of my conversation with them. You just said it. One is love themselves, and two, do it unapologetically. So that first part is love themselves. That conversation did not just start yesterday. That conversation started when they were 6 months old. It started when they were 3 months old. It started when they were 5 years old. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It was always an ever-present conversation. You're beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at you, beautiful girl. Look at those beautiful curls. Ooh, look what I could do with your hair. See, your friends can't have that with their hair. Right. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's always celebrating that Blackness. It's also celebrating our heritage. I mean, I'll give you an example. I have a girlfriend, and she had a daughter who was the same age as my oldest daughter, and she was always about having these grand birthday parties. And so one year she goes, I'm going to do an African birthday party. And so she made sure every kid had showed up, and they had to have African clothing on, and the whole theme was African. And so she made my daughter a hostess, so she had her own custom-made outfit. And so my whole point of sharing that is the cultural part of it was part of the everyday. So all those other little white kids who wanted to come in the suburbs to the birthday party, guess what? They were showing up and participating in our culture. And so because she required it, she said, I want to make sure that your daughter has this costume. And I said, fantastic. I love it. And so my daughter, Kendall, the oldest one, Kendall Ray, she had a beautiful African costume. And so I wanted always for my children to have a sense of pride, never shame, never discouragement, never less than. Never anything they had to kind of hide behind, but always to stand proud and have their head high and their shoulders high. And I always shared with them, you come from a long legacy of brilliant Black people. You come from a legacy of kings and queens. You come from a legacy of prince and princesses. We may not know all the details of what they did. Right. We may not even understand the language. We may not even know our tribe, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't.
Right.
But what I can tell you is that this didn't show up yesterday.
Right.
And that this has been going on for years. And so I would tell them that, and I would tell them that they as an individual were beautiful. And then the other part of it is be proud of who you are. Be proud of your heritage, even though there's a lot of gaps in it that we don't know. But whatever we do know, it's my job as your mom to help you understand that.
Right.
And then be unapologetic. You don't ever hold your head low. You don't ever, even on your worst day, there's no reason to, because there's so many who have sacrificed for you. There's so many who have created the opportunities that you've been blessed to walk into and walk through, that there is no reason for you to do that. And so then I feel from my position that I've done my job. I'm not done. I still got work to do, right, with my kids. But what I'm saying is, I've now walked you through those early developmental years, walked you through that elementary school, walked you through that high school, and now I'm walking the youngest one through college, and she's in her last year of college.
Right.
And
at Spelman.
Spelman, right. And then I can tell you how the whole Spelman thing came up. The Spelman thing came up not because of me. The Spelman thing came up because one of her aunties said to her, I would love to see you go to Spelman. And she goes, nah, I don't know if I necessarily want to go. So, side note, we went to a football game. I went to the University of Arizona. So, her dad and I went to a football game. And that football game was played against Grambling, because every year, one of the HBCUs has a game against one of the Pac-10 schools, or not Pac-10 anymore, I think it's Pac-12 now, Pac-12. And that particular year, it happened to be with Grambling. And so, for the first time, she saw cheerleaders who black. Exactly.
And they were showing out.
The whole line looked like her.
Right.
They had curves like her.
Right.
They had swag like her. Right. And she just thought that was the best thing ever.
Right.
And that was a game changer. Yeah. So when she looked at that, she said, wow. Right. And she said, you know what, Mom? I just want to hang out for a minute and I want to watch them some more. And then the band, you know how the band plays after the game. And the band kept playing, and she watched the cheerleaders. She went up and she took a picture with the cheerleaders. And I truly believe that was truly that shift for her, moving from a predominantly white institution of PWI.
Learning that white ain't always right. You know, because that's, you know, white people ice is colder.
That's it. Exactly. And then so then she's decided that she wanted to do an HBCU, and the rest is history. And so there's been some adjustments for her, very different because moving to the South. But she has loved the experience, and I've loved being able to share that with her, going to homecomings, going on campus and all of that. And I think of what a beautiful experience it is, and how even if I had it to do all over again, if I could move backwards in a time machine, I probably would say, you know what, I think I would do an HBCU.
I've done said that to my, too many times. I done been to college too many times. I was like, every single time I should have been at an HBCU.
HBCU.
You know?
Yeah. Support our own, get taught by our own.
Exactly. Just getting infused with
network with our own.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyways, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you for this time.
Yay.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do have conversations with your family. Just conversation. It's not painful. It's painful when we don't talk.
Absolutely.
The results have been painful. Not having these conversations, not engaging, not being open about racism in this country, and we're reaping the effects of that right now. So have the conversation. Just started as, what do you know about racism? When did you first experience it? You know. So thanks for listening.
Yeah. See you.
Bye.
Take care.